Hi, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. So excited you're here because I'm talking about my Old School April pile of possibilities. If you don't know, Old School April is a big event happening every April, hosted by Kelsey with Kelsey's Nostalgic Life. And I'm so excited. This is my, I think, third year participating, and it's always a lot of fun. It's, there are 5 teams. Well, this year there are 5 teams, and for the first year ever, there's 1 non-competitive team, which is really cool. So if you don't want to get involved in, keeping up with points and all that, you can be on the non-competitive team and just participate and have fun. There are movie watching prompts, there are book prompts, journal prompts, there are like Instagram prompts to like post photos every day. Just all sorts of things. Just a way to have fun and enjoy some of the things that you may have enjoyed when you were growing up. I love it. I have a lot of fun with it. I'll post Kelsey's announcement video down below if you want to see more details about it. She goes into more depth and explains it way better than I do, and also her channel as well. So I have a lot of books here. I'm going to separate them into categories because I thought that may be a little better. Of course, as always, there will be timestamps down below. Categories are nonfiction, vintage faves, retro-inspired horror, contemporary coming of age, and teen scream nostalgia. Let's get into it. I'll start with nonfiction. There are only 2 of those, so it's a pretty easy one to start out with. One of them is one that I've mentioned before in my book haul video. If you didn't see that one, that video, I'll link it down below. There were a ton of books in there. And that one is Hollywood Dinosaurs by Daniel Cohen. I got this one at Half Price Books. This one just talks about like Hollywood monsters, basically. It says Godzilla, King Kong, Gigantus, the Fire Monster, famous and terrifying monsters on the silver screen. And it just sounds like a lot of fun, something really cool. And it goes into like special effects used to like make the different monsters and things like that. And I just find that really interesting. Next up is Just Can't Get Enough. And this one says Robinson and Harp. I saw this one on Kelsey's channel a few years ago, and I finally got my hands on this. It's designed like a trapper keeper. Even looks like scratch and sniff stickers here, and just looks like it's really stickered up. But if you open it, it talks about different toys and stuff from like the 80s and 90s. And I just think this is going to be really fun and a trip down memory lane. And I'm really excited to finally have a copy of this. Next category is vintage faves. And these are all just vintage paperbacks that I've found. Some of them I say vintage in that they're books that were written in like the 80s, 90s, but not all of them are like printed then, if you know what I mean. This one is Stinger by Robert McCammon. I've been wanting to read another one by Robert McCammon because I fell in love with his writing style, and I was looking up other ones that I should try out, and this one popped up. Stinger, an enemy more fearsome, more hideous than the most heart-stopping nightmares. Stinger, who ravages a remote Texas town until the men and women of Inferno rise up in a final desperate battle. No evil yet known to man can match the searing hell of Stinger. So yeah, sounds really fun and really interesting. I absolutely love boys' life, so I'm really looking forward to this one. If you've read this, let me know. Next up is Someone at the Door by Richie Tankersleeve Cusick. I was absolutely obsessed with this author when I was in middle school, and I remember being at my friend's house and taking this book along with me, and my friend being so irritated because I would rather read than hang out, and completely devoured this book in a day back then. And so I've been wanting to reread it for Old School April, and so I went and bought a copy of it. Let me read you what it's about, because it has been like, 30 years since I read it. Beware the kindness of strangers. The phone and the radio were dead, but they'd already heard the news. A mass murderer was on the loose. Hannah and her younger sister Meg were miles from the nearest neighbor, trapped in a raging blizzard, home alone, until the knock at the door. 2 strangers burst into the house, wounded, bleeding, and nearly frozen. Hannah couldn't just turn Lance and Jonathan away, so she made them promise to leave in the morning, but they stayed, insisting the girls needed protection. Wary of Lance's brooding good looks, Hannah was drawn to Jonathan's reassuring presence, until the dog and the axe disappeared, and the girls wondered, protection from whom? Yeah, I remember really enjoying this one way back then, so I'm excited to reread it and see what all I can remember. The next 3 I mentioned in the book haul that I told you I would be linking down below, so I'm not going to go into what they're about. This one is The Abyss by Steve Vance, and look how freaking cool this cover is. I'm obsessed. I found this one at Half Price Books as well, and just was drawn to the cover. And then we have The Demon by Jeffrey Sackett. Again, this cover, sorry about the ring light glare, but this is like one of the like raised covers, and I just think it's so cool. And it sounds really creepy. And then we have Be an Interplanetary Spy. This is one of the ones I believe you could have found at like a book fair way back when, and it's very interactive, and there you can crack all these codes and stuff in it, and it's like a game, like a video game but in a book, and it just sounded really fun. And then we have Bunnicula, and this is the graphic novel version of Bunnicula. And if you can believe it, I've never actually read Bunnicula. So I was really excited to find this at a thrift store a couple weeks ago. It says, beware the hare. Harold the dog and Chester the cat must find out the truth about the newest pet in the Monroe household, a suspicious-looking bunny with unusual habits and fangs. Could this innocent-seeming rabbit actually be a vampire? I'm really happy to finally get my hands on Bunnicula, and I'm excited to read it. Next, we have retro-inspired horror. So these were all, you know, not vintage in that they were written years ago, but they're set in like 80s, 90s, things like that. And I have a big stack. And these are all adult horror, by the way. So first we have Meddling Kids by Edgar Quintero, and this is supposed to be like an adult Scooby-Doo situation, which I think is really fun. And also this cover is really fun too with the neon. And this one is set, I think maybe this is dual timeline between 1977 and 1990 from what I can tell. In 1977, 4 teenagers and a dog, Andy the tomboy, Nate the nerd, Carrie the bookworm, Peter the jock, and Tim the Weimaraner, solved the mystery of Sleepy Lake. The trail of an amphibian monster terrorizing the quiet town of Blyton Hills led the gang to spend a night in Debion Mansion and apprehend a familiar culprit, a bitter old man in a mask. Now in 1990, the 20-something former teen detectives are lost souls, plagued by night terrors and Peter's tragic death. The 3 survivors have been running from their demons. When the man they apprehended all those years ago makes parole, Andy tracks him down to confirm what she's always known. They got the wrong guy. Now she'll need to get the gang back together and return to Blyton Hills to find out what really happened in 1977. And this time, she's sure they're not looking for another man in a mask. A mad scientist's concoction of H.P. Lovecraft, teen detectives, and a love of Americana, Edgar Quintero's Meddling Kids is a story filled with rich horror, thrilling twists, outright hilarity, and surprising poignancy. That sounds like so much fun, and I feel like this is another one I feel like everybody has read but me. But I finally got it, and I'm stoked. We have a splatterpunk, or extreme horror, and that is Babysitter Bloodbath by Regina Watts. I've read another book by Regina Watts, and I absolutely loved it, so I'm really excited about this one. The ring light's really causing problems. I'm gonna, like, turn it down. Not the best lighting now, but we're gonna work with it. Anyhow, so yeah, Babysitter Bloodbath by Regina Watts, and I've really enjoyed her other extreme horror, so yeah. says Sarah has been feeling happy in her quiet Washington suburb, and tonight is a big chance for her. A lengthy babysitting gig and a chance to be alone with her new hunky guy, Jack. With any luck, this will shape up to be a great night for her. Unfortunately, that luck has already run out. A brutal atrocity happened 22 years ago in the very same neighborhood, completely forgotten by this small town, but not forgotten by the monster who committed it. Nicholas Burr will be violently released from his long stay in Monroe State Hospital, and Sarah will finally get to meet the long forgotten horror of her town's past. Yeah, that sounds excellent. We have Melonhead Mayhem. Again, everybody's read this but me at this point. This is by Alex Ebenstein. This is from the Killer VHS series. I've read others from the series, have loved them, so trying to get my hands on all of them. Have you ever wanted to live inside your favorite horror film? Prove you have what it takes to fight Freddy, destroy Jason, mangle Michael? Cousins Carson and Sophia are in town for their grandma's funeral and are unknowingly about to live out the nightmare that is every horror fan's dream. After they find an old, unfamiliar VHS tape tucked away in Grandma's house, they figure the worst that can happen is a few cringeworthy moments and 90 minutes wasted. Instead, the video summons the movie monsters, local urban legends called Melonheads, into their very real lives. The destruction caused by the bloodthirsty Melonheads has Carson and Sophia fighting to survive and sets them on a deadly path to the shores of Lake Michigan, home of the devilish beasts. They vowed to destroy every last one of the Melonheads and make sure these monsters never get a sequel. Will they survive? Would you fare better? It's a creature feature. It's a throwback. It's Melonhead Mayhem. That sounds like so much freaking fun. And also, look at the art on the back. That's excellent. Okay, this is the one that sounds absolutely hilarious to me, and that is Chalupa Cabra Y2K by V.S. Lawrence. The cover is so fun, and it sounds hysterical. It really does. In the summer of Y2K, a slow night shift at Tico Taco takes a turn for the cursed when a couple of bored employees deep fry something they definitely shouldn't have. Now something greasy, pissed off, and way too into hot sauce is leaving behind a trail of empty packets and drained bodies. Janet, burned out, Landon, baked, and Trina, bedazzled, are the only things standing between the Chalupa Cabra and total chili cook-off carnage. They have no weapons training, no plan, and absolutely no business being the heroes in this story. But unfortunately, they're all we've got. Doesn't that sound so great? So fun. I'm excited. And we have another David Sodergren. I've really grown to love his work, and that is Night Shoot. And this cover is so creepy. A group of desperate student filmmakers break into Crawford Manor for an unauthorized night shoot. They have no choice. Their lead actress has quit. They're out of time, they're out of money, they're out of luck. For Crawford Manor has a past that won't stay dead, and the crew are about to come face to face with a hideous secret that stalks the halls. Will anyone survive the night shoot? Yeah. I love a good creepy book. Head Like a Hole by Andrew Van Way. Another one that I've been wanting to get my hands on forever. I'm obsessed with this cover. And I'm sorry I'm just like reading all of these. There's so many, and there was no way for me to memorize what all these were about, to like paraphrase them. There was no way. So I'm just reading them. When you bury your past, make sure that it's dead. It's the mid-90s. Grunge and flannel are fading as the Spice Girls and Hot Topic conquer the malls. Cherry gloss glistens on the lips of the youth. Modems hiss as America comes online. And in a fog-drenched cove at the edge of New England, something terrible awakens when a fisherman reels in a gruesome catch, the remains of a young woman, remains still pulsing with furious life. For Megan Monroe and her friends, this is how their nightmare begins. A wet whisper over their shoulder, a dark hand reaching out from the edge of their sight, and a name clawing at the back of their minds. A young woman scratched from their memory. To stop this devouring terror, Megan will need to mend broken friendships and reassemble her fractured past. For what stalks them hungers to remake itself in their image, piece by bloody piece. Dig into the haunted past with Head Like a Hole, a novel of malignant secrets, shattered friendships, and twisted bodily horror. Okay, that sounds incredible. Yes. Okay, this one looked so fun and so weird to me, and that is Gil's All Fright Diner by A. Lee Martinez. And it says here, now serving Armageddon with a side of fries. I love this cover. It's great. Welcome to Gil's All Night Diner, where zombie attacks are a regular occurrence and you never know what might be lurking in the freezer. Duke and Earl are just passing through Rockwood County when they stop at the diner for a quick bite to eat. They aren't planning to stick around until Loretta, the eatery's owner, offers them $100 to take care of her zombie problem. Given that Duke is a werewolf and Earl's a vampire, this looks right up their alley. But the shambling dead are just the tip of a particularly spiky iceberg. Seems someone's out to drive Loretta from the diner, and is more than willing to raise a little hell on earth if that's what it takes. Before Duke and Earl get to the bottom of the diner's troubles, they'll run into such otherworldly complications as undead cattle, an amorous ghost, a jailbait sorceress, and the terrifying occult power of Pig Latin. And maybe, just maybe, the end of the world too. Gory, sexy, and flat out hilarious, Gil's All Fright Diner will tickle your funny bone before ripping it out of its socket. Yeah, that's another funny one. Sounds excellent. Okay, so I looked up how to say this before this video and I already forgot how to say it. Polybius? I believe this is pronounced Polybius. Oh my god, I can't even remember. I even looked this up. Polybius by Colin Armstrong. Don't hold it against me if I'm not saying that right, because I even looked it up. I believe it's Polybius. Okay. The year is 1982, and Andy Winston just started her shift at the seedy arcade in the small seaside town of Tasker Bay, California. With an aptitude for programming and dreams of moving to Silicon Valley, Andy avoids making friends by spending most of her free time repairing cabinets at Home Video World. But when a mysterious game called Polybius is rolled out and plugged in on the shop floor, the usually quiet arcade is suddenly overwhelmed with players clamoring to play the new game. Overnight, a virus-like epidemic sweeps through Tasker Bay. People are experiencing inexplicable fits of anger, paranoia, and hallucinations. And when a grisly act of violence is committed, the town is plunged into complete chaos. Neither the town's sheriff nor its physician have any leads as to the cause of the sudden affliction. After observing the players of Polybius during a few shifts, Andy is convinced the dire situation is somehow linked to the game, and she reluctantly teams up with Roe, the sheriff's well-respected but adrift son, in a desperate attempt to stop the perplexing violence. And then they too begin experiencing side effects. Is anyone coming to Tasker Bay's rescue? Also, this cover is amazing too. I love it. Our next category is contemporary coming of age. I have a nice little stack here. We have Things That Happened Before the Earthquake by Chiara Barsini. I looked that up as well, and I already forgot how to pronounce it. So, yeah. 15-year-old Eugenia is rudely yanked from her dreamy Roman existence by her filmmaker parents who dream of fame and fortune, and transplanted to the strange suburban world of the San Fernando Valley. It's 1992, mere weeks after the Rodney King riots, and she has only the Virgin Mary to call on for guidance as she struggles to navigate the unfamiliar terrain of the LA high school experience. A world of gang rivalries and all-night raves, fast food and sneakers, but the angst, ecstasy, and self-discovery of adolescence endure no matter the backdrop. I love a good coming-of-age novel. And I've hit these books. I'm going to end up knocking all these books on my head. I just know it. If I do, don't laugh. We have The Brittnys by Brittany Ackerman. They're not the most popular freshmen at their Florida prep school, but at least everyone knows their names, the Brittnys. Brittany Rosenberg drives a golf cart around her subdivision to meet boys. Brittany Gottlieb insists you can't lose your virginity if you haven't gotten your period. She heard it somewhere. Brittany Tomasi is from New York. Brittany Jensen, a brash, bold, unapologetic tomboy and the greatest person in the whole wide world. At least as far as the fifth Brittany, our narrator, is concerned, with their matching JanSport backpacks, Tiffany chokers, and Victoria's Secret push-up bras, she and Jansen are unstoppable. 2004 is totally going to be their year, except Jensen's interests may be diverging from her friends, and within our narrator's own family, in the lives of her exhausted mother and beloved genius older brother, life-changing events are taking shape, events that only years later, looking back, she has the perspective to see. Sisters in Yellow by Miyako Kawakami. I read another book by Miyako Kawakami and I freaking loved it, so I have high hopes for this. And this one just came out like this month in March as I'm filming this. Tell you what this is about. Hannah has nothing. She's 15 years old and living in a tiny apartment in a suburb of Tokyo with her young mother, a hostess at a local dive bar. They have no money, no security. Then Kimiko appears. Kimiko is older, a bright light in Hannah's dark world. Together they set up Lemon, a bar that, despite its shabby setting and seedy clientele, becomes a haven for Hannah. Suddenly, Hannah has a job she loves, friends to share her days with, and the glittering promise of money. She feels like a normal girl. She feels invincible. But in the narrow alleys of Sanganjaya, nothing is as it seems. Soon, all of Hannah's hope, her optimism, and her drive will be pushed to the limit. So, this one is set in Tokyo in the 90s. I know online there's more to it than that. Like, if you look on Goodreads, there is more to it than that. But that's the gist of it. We have The Idiot by Elif Batuman. The year is 1995 and email is new. Celine, the daughter of Turkish immigrants, arrives for her freshman year at Harvard, where she signs up for classes and subjects she has never heard of, befriends her charismatic Serbian classmate, Svetlana, and almost by accident begins corresponding with Ivan, an older mathematics student. Celine may have barely spoken to Ivan, but with each email they exchange, the act of writing seems to take on new and increasingly mysterious meanings. When the school year ends, Ivan goes to Budapest, and Celine heads to the Hungarian countryside. Her summer does not resonate with anything she has previously heard about the typical experiences of college students. When the school year ends, Ivan goes to Budapest, and Celine heads to the Hungarian countryside. Her summer does not resonate with anything she has previously heard about the typical experiences of college students, but rather is the beginning of a journey further inside herself. A coming to grips with the ineffable and the exhilarating confusion of first love, and with the growing consciousness that she is doomed to become a writer. And then finally, we have a graphic novel in this category, and that is Be That Way by Hope Larson. And this cover is really cute. And I don't even remember what this is about. Sorry. Stand by. Says, it's January 1st, 1996, and high school junior Christine wants more than anything to be that cool girl everyone notices, like her gorgeous best friend Landry. She usually hates New Year's resolutions, but this year she vows to be that shiny kind of girl and record it all in her diary through prose, illustration, and comics. When Landry drops her, Christine is surprised to discover just how much she doesn't miss her and her drama. But a misguided kiss from film-obsessed Paul, her only other close friend, also causes a rift, and she finds herself facing a long, lonely summer. With nothing to lose, Christine finds a new sense of courage. She gets a job at her neighborhood video store, experiments with her art, and becomes romantically entangled with her next-door neighbor, Whit, who's either the coolest guy ever or a total jerk. In spite of all this, she doesn't quite feel shiny until a shocking betrayal shows her the value of the words and drawings she hides in her diary, and she finally understands that she doesn't need to be cool to be noticed. She only needs to be herself. It sounds really cute. Before I move on to the final category, I actually forgot about a couple because they are digitals. They're digitals because I don't have them yet. One of them isn't out until middle of April, and another one I just discovered, so I don't have the physical copy yet. First one is The Door to 1998 by Eve Reyes. I believe this is an adult horror, and I'll tell you what it's about. It says, what if you found a door that led back to your childhood, but everyone else was gone? Daniel moves into a quiet suburban home and discovers something strange in the shed behind the house. A locked door. When he finally opens it, he steps into something impossible. His childhood neighborhood. The year 1998. Everything is exactly the way he remembers it. The same houses, the same streets, even his old home. But something is terribly wrong. The neighborhood is completely empty. No neighbors, no cars moving, no voices. Just endless silence and the unsettling feeling that he isn't actually alone. At first, Daniel believes he's been given a miracle, a doorway back to the past. But the longer he stays, the more the world begins to feel like a trap. Because nostalgia can be dangerous, and some doors should never be opened. So, saw that one, got really excited. Read another book by this author and really enjoyed it, so I have hopes for that one. The other one is Distortions, 1994, by Dahlia Vayombra. And this one sounds really good as well. Ashford, Connecticut, October 1994. In a quiet New England town where the biggest scandals involve diner gossip and high school football, something impossible begins to happen. A videotape appears at the Black Pines Motel with no sender, no label, and 3 words carved into the plastic. Watch only once. When Noah, the motel's night clerk, presses play, the images on the screen seem wrong. But what's worse is what happens afterward. Small details shift. A clock shows the wrong time. The name sounds unfamiliar. A place that should exist no longer does, or perhaps it never did. Sammy, Mitch, and Derek have lived their whole lives in Ashford. They know its Victorian houses, its arcade basement, its coffee-stained diner counters, but as autumn deepens and the air turns metallic with rain and fallen leaves, they begin to sense something beneath the surface of their town. Something watching, something recording, something rewriting. At the center of it all lies Whitlow's Bend, a name scratched off old maps, tied to a long vanished filmmaker and a story no one remembers clearly anymore. Yeah. So both of those sounded really good. I just want to mention those before I forget completely. Final category is teen scream nostalgia, and I only have 3 of these. They're YA and middle grade horror. We have Code Skull by Chloe Spencer, and I'm obsessed with this cover. It's a lot of fun, and I've been wanting to get my hands on this one for a while, so I'm really excited. When Mick, an ambitious arcade gamer, plays a mysterious RPG game on floppy disk gifted by her fiercest gaming rival Tommy, she inadvertently unleashes a terrifying technological creature that can infest and overload any electrically powered object. After their classmate meets a grisly end, the two must team up with a fledgling occult enthusiast in order to save their small town and possibly the world from annihilation. Yeah, that sounds fun. Next, we have Gorman's House by T.T. Madden. Another neon cover that I love so much. Halloween Night 1990X. Danny, Kennedy, and Jason uncover the location of the fabled Gorman's house in their town, a traveling haunted attraction that's supposedly so scary no one has ever completed it to claim the prize money. Initially, the group has fun exploring, but something dark settles over them when they realize the architecture of the attraction is changing around them. Soon they begin to lose one another in the house and find themselves facing real supernatural threats that are determined to keep them in Gorman's house forever. This is one that it's set in the 90s. Yes, it's Halloween. So it's one of those that I may read it if I have time, but I may save it for Halloween-a-thon. We will see. And then we have In the Mall of Madness by A.D. Aro. And this is very like on theme. I knew I had to read this one. It says, "Welcome to Plainfield, the most boring town ever, at least according to Sam. She's been dying of boredom there her whole life. Then the signs start cropping up. Coming soon, Plainfield Mall. Live to shop, shop to live. Hundreds of stores, a Cineplex, even an indoor roller coaster. It's everything Sam could ever wish for. But there's something eerie about the owner, Morrigan Nix. Once the mall opens, it changes the town. Sam feels a strange force luring her into its depths. People start disappearing. Will Sam be able to escape once she's trapped in the Mall of Madness?" That's all of them. I say that's all of them. That's all the ones that my pile of possibilities right now. I do have Goosebumps books, a ton of Goosebumps books and things like that that I could read if I run out. I know one year I read over 20 books for Old School April. I do want to mention real quick, if you're looking for any other inspiration for what to read for Old School April, I'm going to tell you a couple that I was absolutely freaking obsessed with last year, and I still am obsessed with them. And that is B-Movie Bloodbath by Isaac Nightingale and Neon Nightmares. Read it's part of a series. He's working on book 3, so read this one first and this one second. Absolutely freaking obsessed. I love all the characters. It's got it's just a vibe. This is like literally, it says cult classic here, and I'm telling you, if this was a movie, this would be a cult classic because it reads that way. It's so action packed. It's so fun, over the top. It's a freaking blast. It's so fun. It's so fun. I'm going to tell you what the back says. It says, "I was 19 years old when a pair of vampires beat me to a pulp and left me for dead. Imprisoned for a murder I didn't commit, I had to struggle to survive and fight for my freedom. Finally unleashed on the world, I carried 3 gifts that would change the course of my life: a rock hard grudge, a taste for blood, and some super serum hot sauce coursing through my veins. I wanted vengeance, and I'd go through hell to get it. Vampires, flesh melting skin stealers, neo-Nazi prison gangs, an old-ass fortune teller, a Texan gunslinger, a wheelchair-bound werewolf, 2 haunted revolvers, and one hell of a road trip for revenge." I am telling you, this is like one of my favorites. It was in my top 10 last year. Absolutely freaking obsessed. I cannot wait for book 3 to come out. I gave both of these 5 stars. They're amazing. They're so much fun. It's just so much happens in these books, and they're chunkier. Like, they are chunkier books. This one is, they're not that chunky. 387 pages, this one. But I'm telling you, they're so worth it. They're a blast. There's a playlist that goes along with it if you're into that. And each track is inspiration for a chapter set in the 80s. And yeah, if you're looking for inspiration for other books to read, I highly recommend these. Highly recommend. But those are all the books. I stick around for next week. Next week, I'm going to be talking about all the activities I'm going to be getting into for Old School April, all the movies, and I'll also be picking my team. I'm going to let my little vintage McDonald's witch bucket pick my team for me. So yeah, come back for that next week. I will see you next week. Bye for now.